After all this time, I'm finally back with a review. Hold on to your seats, folks, because shit is about to get crazy. What's up, folks? My name is Tanner, and today we're going to take a look at the Ascent. You know, the game that's been getting some high praise. If you like this video, subscribe, like it, look at the description for my Discord and merch links. And now, the question of the hour, is the Ascent worth $30 or worth your time on Game Pass? Let's find out. Just as always, story comes first. On the world of Veils, a mega corporation known as the Ascent Group controls an arcology, a giant structure meant to house and provide basic needs for hundreds of thousands of people. You are an indent, or better known as an indentured servant for the Ascent Group, taking on some dirty jobs, quite literally. Now, one day the Ascent Group collapses for no rhyme or reason, and this causes mayhem across the entire arcology, putting everyone's lives and indent contracts in danger. Your goal has now changed from dirty jobs to finding out what's going on and stopping other corporations that are trying to lay claim to what was left abandoned by the Ascent Group. The Ascent is one of those stories that tosses you in at the climax of it all, and your journey is uncovering the resolution. There honestly isn't any build-up, maybe like 10 minutes, but that's not enough for like a true build-up, which isn't an issue at all. I really couldn't imagine this game doing it different because of how chaotic the theme is for it. Throw us in with explosions and witness a corporate downfall in the first 10 minutes? Sign me the fuck up. As for how good of a job it does telling the story, give us some time. See, the story is interesting with some aw shit parts early on, so the middle for me solely relied on just intriguing ideas, and it did handle it well, and ultimately I didn't think much was, going to come out of my journey, but once you reach the conclusion, it just makes this 20-hour campaign well worth the wait. It's a fine corporation story that surpasses many that try to do it. And then we have the many side quests that honestly feel like they're around every corner, and they give us a glimpse into the standard civilian's life during said crash. How low the population is willing to go is quite absurd. Every quest felt different from the last, not allowing me to be uninterested. I was in 100% focus mode with everything story in this title. Gameplay is what sold me on this, so anyone who's been around this channel knows that I love a good isometric title, especially when it's a shooter. Helldivers, Hong Kong Massacre, like that's some fine gaming in my opinion. But the Ascent, oh my god, this is something extraordinary, and it's the most detailed and perhaps the most in-depth isometric shooter I've ever played. And to me, this is the product if Diablo, Cyberpunk, and in my opinion, what we would have gotten from Prey 2 all mixed together into one title, and then just give us a sky view. For the combat, this game is action-packed with guts and explosions in just about every single firefight. Sometimes cover's your best friend, but other times run and gun is your only hope for survival, as it can at times feel like a horde shooter and you just made it to your highest round yet. At first glance, the twin-stick shooter might just seem like everything you've seen before in games like this, but it offers mechanics that make it more unique than others. And as I mentioned, it has a cover system. Crouch behind cover to avoid being shot, but what's so neat about this is you have a button to press so you can shoot higher up, meaning if you're crouched behind a barrier, you can shoot over it with perfect aim. And one of my favorites was being at the bottom of a staircase and shooting above it, hitting the enemies. And though this game is smart, it's still not smart enough to register you or enemies shooting at someone below. So yeah, being at the bottom of a staircase is, in all honesty, cheap as hell, but I don't care. It was fun. Without the cover system, this game would be a whole hell of a lot more difficult than it already is, because this game was pretty difficult, folks, but the cover system allowed for some wiggle room for us to make some mistakes. The shooting here felt like it was handled with great care, and it understood what makes these isometric shooters so much fun. I mean, we have the obvious laser that we usually have, but on top of that, we also have a crosshair we can use to assist us further, and I love having a crosshair in games like these. It just, for me, it just feels more user-friendly. Now we also have a variety of weapons from your classic pistols to rocket launchers and weapons that have tracking and boomerang bullets, so if you miss a shot, it really doesn't matter because it'll just come back and whack them in the back of the head and they'll be sleeping with a fish tonight. The key is to experiment with weapons that work best for you and then upgrade said weapons. Now, I stuck with 2 main guns throughout my entire playthrough, a revolver and a shotgun. Now, it might sound boring to some, but honestly, I enjoy having these weapons that I knew inside and out, knowing what approach I should take in different encounters. Where I did experiment, however, was with the augmentations, because what kind of cyberpunk themed game doesn't have human augmentations? These are your special abilities that we see in many titles. Augmentations are the things such as a giant laser beam that obliterates enemies, spiders that explode enemies into bloody chunks, and then missiles that rain down on everyone around you. They are the moves that save your ass. Now, though these are on a timer, they still require you to have enough energy to engage them in combat. So if you find yourself out of energy, you'll kill enemies or smash boxes in hopes that they drop something to help you refill it. Otherwise, you're just going to wait and, let it build up over time, which is the complete polar opposite of your health and your tactical equipment. Tactical equipment builds up from killing, and your health will only regenerate by health drops from the dead, boxes you smash, buying health from a vending machine with creds, a tactical ability that lays down a healing radius effect, and a safe area. Being in a safe area will heal you. Now for the tacticals, those are your usual, grenades, but they do become a lot beefier the longer you play, building up to your own fucking mech suit. I cannot stress enough how vital the augmentations and tactical abilities are. They are futile to your survival because this game, again, is difficult. So you want every advantage you can have at all times. And I'm the kind of guy who, if I know I'm about to go into a boss fight, I'm going to backtrack and explore everywhere around me and kill anything I can to get as many drops as possible. Build up any and all abilities, and if I can, almost level up my character. So when I'm fighting a boss, I have a chance to level up, and then there is a free health refill. Now this game is as strategic as you want to make it, which is why I loved every single second of it. As for the boss fights in this game, there aren't many, but there's enough to get the job done, and each fight will be different in a variety of ways. So, for example, bosses have their own immunity. Some weapons won't work good on some bosses because some weapons have special characteristics. For example, energy weapons are most useful against robotic enemies, whereas fire weapons work best against creatures. So make sure you have multiple types of weapons at all time because, you never know whenever a boss fight's going to take place. Another example is that these boss battles diverse in how you fight them. The last boss in this game took me by complete surprise by how you handled it. I would have never guessed. As for upgrading and leveling up, it's honestly as simple as it gets. Leveling up rewards you with action points, and you spend those on different attributes from health, critical hits, gain more energy, things like that. It's not complicated at all. There's no skill tree, none of that. Upgrading weapons is as simple as a trip to a gunsmith and using the desired currency to upgrade your gun from, let's say, Mark II to Mark III. Armor, however, is different. You just find them from drops, or you can buy it from a merchant, but honestly, the drops are the best way because they're abundant. All loot in this game is rather hefty, so you might manage your inventory quite often, but you don't have to. There's no weight system, so if you want to hoard everything, you do you. Go for it. And lastly, we have co-op. Sadly, I did not get to participate, as my brother is the only other person I know that owns this game, and that motherfucker ditched me for Destiny. So, you can all thank him. Now let's talk about the ugly of the gameplay, which extends to the design in a way. This game does have some bad frame drops and stutters. This occurs when you enter a different region of the map, and the devs are very active on forum boards, and they've stated that this is due to shader caches downloading, and they're actively trying to fix this. Now, of course, shader caches have to download, but they're actively trying to get it to work all together without the stutters. Now, once the shaders are all set, the game runs smooth, so sometimes you can just sit there and wait and then play. It's all up to you. It does dampen some parts of the experience. Now, for me, it was mainly the cutscenes that were stuttering. It sucked, but it was not the worst thing in the world. And I put up with it because, for the most part, this game, like I said, runs smooth as butter past those shader caches. The gameplay is some of the most fun I've had in such a long time. I mean, there's something so satisfying about senseless, bloody action. It's rewarding both literally and mentally, tons of content to indulge in, and a rather decently sized world with noticeable differences with each setting from people to the buildings themselves. The gameplay is the full package, guys. There's honestly not a single feature that I found myself wanting. It had everything I wanted and then some. The design, it's impeccable. Like, I feel games like these don't tend to have as much attention to detail as they could, but these devs went above and beyond in every aspect of the design. The cyberpunk world is one of the most beautiful and yet cruel things I've ever seen. Everything from radiant colors to the dullest grays and browns. This is how I imagine a cyberpunk themed game. Like, this felt more true to its ideas than 2077 did. And whenever I started talking about the gameplay, I mentioned how this is possibly similar to what Prey 2 would have or could have been, and that's due to the life in the arcology. Aliens everywhere who speak their own language, added on to the fact that you're a bounty hunter of sorts. The source material that the devs had access to and I believe utilized to make the theme for this game, it shows out, and they have every single right to brag about it. And then we have the sound of the game. Voice acting was always up to par, and only the main characters had voice acting, or well, the only ones that had voice acting in English anyways. The rest of the characters spoke in their own alien tongue, which that's a nice detail. For me, it built onto the game's world. But the best part of the sound is the soundtrack. Like, it's fucking magical. It matched every scene you found yourself in. Walking into a lonely part of town, cue the music to make you feel like a lone wanderer with nowhere to go. Badass action scene incoming, better turn on something to match that energy, and it never fails. So without further ado, here are some clips of the Ascent's design.
Got it. A freight pinnace registered to Suntor Klein Corp just made a rapid departure request. Suntor Klein is an OV front. We can assume the shipping master is on board. What's worse, that pinnace is not just a planet hopper. It's an interstellar vessel. If it leaves Velez, we'll never get our hands on the shipping master. You must stop it.
Ik hoor vast Mario. Die unherne hupsul del harin bantikul en juma. Bantik terare. Liste voor de slava. Ik dan hoor van
Please. Onyx will pay a considerable sum for the head of the individual who just entered. No need for it to be attached to anything. Come see me when you're ready to collect.
For the final score of this game, it was a big conversation in my head, even while writing this, but my decision has been made and it's final. This game is $30 out of $30. The stutters and frames are something that need to be fixed, but they will be fixed. Like I said, the devs are very active. The gameplay, the story, the fucking design are just jaw-dropping. Like, when they fix these stutters, I can honestly say that this game for me might just be classified as a masterpiece. I had no bugs. Literally, my only issue were these stutters, and that's it. The fun to be had in this game is immeasurable. I like these isometric games because of how gamey they feel, and this extends on that with over-the-top action. It is so much fun. The story is smart. The design is something everyone needs to witness firsthand. Like, honestly, this is my favorite isometric game I've ever played. If you have an Xbox, if you have a PC, you get this damn game. You have Game Pass? What the hell are you waiting for? Install it. And that's all I got, folks. Subscribe, like this video, buy some merch, follow my Twitch, and I will see you all in the next video.